Hi guys, FrostFangs here, welcome back once again, of course, to another Paladins video. It's been a while since I've said that, about 2 weeks actually. For you guys, it's probably only been a week and a bit since you've heard it, because that's how long it's been since I put up a video. Wasn't really expecting to disappear, but either way, we're back. We're on the new update for the PTS with Octavia the Indomitable. As I'm sure you can see, we'll be talking about it and kind of showing off a little bit today. Yeah, I definitely could have done a better job of explaining that I was going to be going away for a little bit, but it wasn't really planned. My PC essentially broke. I had to send a piece off for repairs, and it took a little bit longer than I was expecting, and I had a few videos ready, but obviously I can't record 2 weeks worth of videos in advance, so I only had like 4 or 5, and then that's why there's not been anything on the channel for a week and a bit. But I was actually kind of surprised that so many of you guys noticed that I was gone. I got a bunch of comments like wondering and actually kind of worried that I was not going to be making videos anymore, that I was done and bored with Paladins. I'd planned to take a bit of a break anyway for about a week, which is why I kind of timed it the way I did, but it didn't go 100% as I planned, so I ended up kind of taking 2 weeks off, and I haven't recorded anything in 2 weeks or done anything to do with YouTube or Paladins in 2 weeks, so I'm going to be a little bit messy, so bear with me at least a little bit. But yeah, shouts to you guys for worrying about me, warmed my little heart, although don't worry, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. It made me actually really realize whilst I was away for 2 weeks, which doesn't seem long, but for me, considering I record every day, it was definitely really weird. But it made me realize how much I enjoy making videos and how much I enjoy Paladins still, and it's kind of a weird time to come back, considering I'm right at the end, I think, of this PTS cycle with Octavia, which is the focus of the video, obviously. So yeah, I think that was everything I wanted to cover there in the intro. If you've got any questions, definitely let me know in the comments, and I'll answer you either there or in a future video, because I want to get back to kind of covering stuff as normal. I don't want to spend 5 minutes here in the intro explaining stuff that isn't important, so we'll jump back in, cover Octavia, I'll go through everything, and we'll jump into the target practice. I haven't played in 2 weeks, I'm going to be a little bit rusty, but yeah, Octavia the Indomitable, I think I called her something else earlier. She's got 2,200 health and is a damage. I was honestly kind of surprised that we had a new character so soon. I really wasn't expecting Octavia to come out as early as she did. I thought because Yagarath was kind of recent, it was going to be a while, but yeah, she's here pretty damn soon. I think they said this patch is coming out at the end of March, I think, or at least I read that somewhere. But yeah, we'll go through her kit. She's got her ultimate, Creeping Barrage. We might as well start with this. You rain down a laser barrage upon your enemies that deals 850 damage per beam. It's cast out basically in a line in front of you. It's kind of hard to explain in text, but I'm sure you'll see it in a second. It's kind of got two parts: a small beam that destroys shields and deals a little bit of damage, and then the second part, which is a larger beam which deals 850. Pretty straightforward ultimate, although it will definitely mix up some team fights in Paladins for sure. I'm really just generally quite excited for Octavia. But her standard weapon is a marksman rifle, a weapon that I've actually kind of missed in Paladins. I've played with weapons like this a bunch in other games, and it's kind of strange that Paladins didn't have a character like that, but now we do. It's kind of like a mix between like a normal sort of Victor gun and a Canessa weapon. I'm sure you get exactly what type of weapon I'm talking about, but it deals 500 damage every 0.3, an ammo count of 12, and is fully effective up to 900 units. From what they showed on the patch notes, the range is actually pretty damn good on it. And when you're not aiming down your sights, which is your right click, you actually fire a little bit faster, but you deal significantly less damage at 200, just to kind of stop you from spamming it up close, of course. And obviously you can headshot with this. Then your right click, which is just aiming down sights, you get increased accuracy, but you move slower, 50% slower, very similar to all the other aiming down sights abilities. But it does have an interesting twist of when you're actually in the air, whether you use your F, which is basically a leap, or you just actually jump off a ledge, if there's enough height to it, you can actually kind of stay in the air a little bit for up to 2.5 seconds, which is a mini Andro ultimate kind of, and you can actually see through your distortion field, which is your Q, when you're using your right click. This actually flows really well left to right, but yeah, the distortion field is her Q. It's got an 18-second cooldown, another pretty unique ability, similar to other stuff in other games, but it is pretty unique for Paladins. You create an opaque dome that hides your allies and also disorients enemies inside of it, because as far as I know, they can't see out of it, but they also can't see in. It's really hard to explain in text, but I'm sure you'll get it as soon as we jump into a match where you play against it once. It lasts for 4 seconds, and then enemies who are inside it are slowed by 10%. Allies and Octavia can see into it. Octavia, even on the enemy team, can actually see into it with her right click as well, which is another really interesting part about how she works. She actually has a really interesting passive as well, which isn't mentioned here, surprisingly. But then your F, which is just your standard movement ability, commanding leap. You leap into the air, gain control on the battlefield, aim down your sights, and then you can levitate in the air, but that's more of the right click than anything. It's just a leap, kind of like Tiberius, but a little bit more controlled, I think. But weirdly, they don't actually mention the other thing that she has, which you select at the start of a match anywhere here. Hopefully they'll add that before the BTS is over, because that's pretty important. It's not mentioned anywhere. I don't know really where they could put it. I guess it could fit maybe on a passive somewhere to one of these abilities. I don't know, but it's not mentioned, and she has an extra thing on top of all of that. Then for the talents, the first one you get is Hell or High Water. When you land in your F, you drop like a little pool, similar to kind of Moji's F talent thing. I think it's called 2. I can't remember the name of it. They actually don't mention how much it heals for here, which is kind of interesting. We'll have to see that now in the target practice, but it also stops you from consuming ammo if you're standing in the pool, which is a nice kind of side effect to it. Then for the second one, which is actually pretty damn unique, enemies are rooted in place when they're hit by the pre-fire beam from the ultimate, and then the larger beam actually deals 1450, which is a hell of a lot. This is going to be a really interesting one to see. I imagine going for max morale boost and kind of an ultimate sort of setup will actually make this a pretty damn good choice. Then the last one, Asymmetric Warfare, which is for your distortion field, although they misspelled it here, deals 250 every second to enemies who are standing inside it, but it also heals your allies for 150 every second inside the field, which is another really interesting one. Honestly, when you first look at Octavia, she seems pretty basic, pretty straightforward, kind of similar to what we've got already in Paladins or in other games, but the more you delve into a kit, the more you realize she is got a hell of a lot that she can do. And I feel like the more you look at her, the more you realize how unique and interesting she is. She's just a really cool character. But anyway, for the skin, she comes with Commander, Maverick, which actually takes her hat off, which is kind of cool, and then Golden Octavia. Then for the weapons, same sort of thing. I don't even really need to go through those. For the emotes, she's got her first one, the big guns, pretty straightforward. Then also Hipfire, which is just a pretty straightforward emote. Don't want to spend too much time on these here. MVP pose though, she does have a pretty cool one. The default one, just a default pose, and then Unfazed, which I do like quite a bit. Then finally we'll go through her cards, which are pretty damn big if you ask me. I think she's got a really good selection of cards here. We'll go through the distortion field first. You've got one that just increases the radius by 4% a level. You can reduce the damage you take while you're standing inside it. I think that just is for yourself. It doesn't affect your teammates. This one might not really be worth grabbing, but maybe with the talent it applies the effect kind of similar to Sky. I don't think it does, but that'd be something interesting to maybe see in the future. Then a pretty standard cooldown reduction, and also cooldown reduction on the leap with the Q. Very straightforward cards. I can't really see any of these being massively used because she does have some really good ones in here. Air Supremacy, which I can see being used quite a bit, which is damage reduction after you've used your F. Then reduced recoil when you're in your F. I don't think this will apply if you jump off a ledge. I think this is only if you go in your F and then right click to kind of hold yourself in the air, but I actually haven't tested that. And then high ground, which is just increased jump strength, pretty standard. Then cooldown reduction on the Q with the F. Then for the sight, she's got some interesting ones. The reducing the movement speed penalty, which is a kind of standard card, but I can see that one maybe being picked up a bit. Then ultimate gen, if there's a kill or an limb while you've got your designated sights active, comboed of course with the talent that buffs out your ultimate. This can be a super solid choice. Snap to it, another one that I can see being picked up quite a bit, reducing the time that it takes to actually go into your sights. And then one that is not that good, but maybe some people will use it. It gives you ammo, 1 per level if you get a kill or an limb. Maybe this will be picked up. I'm not really sure because again, she's just got so many good choices. It's not a bad card, but I think compared to others, maybe it's not going to be picked up as much. Then for her armor and her weapons, standard health increase. This one is of course going to be at least somewhat popular because these cards always are. Movement speed after you get a kill for 2.5 seconds or an limb. Another one that maybe will be popular. Getting jumpy, which is one I think 100% will be used. I'm surprised that that's here and not in the leap card, but it doesn't really matter. It's just a reset on the leap when you drop below a percentage of your health. These sort of cards are always really popular, and I think for Octavia it'll be the same thing. And then finally a bit of extra ammo, which is also probably going to be kind of popular because she has 12 by default, 2 per levels, pretty damn good. You can nearly double your mag. So yeah, that was an overview for Octavia. I actually haven't played it at all yet myself. I just played around with loadouts a little bit and made one that I think might be kind of okay, but definitely don't take that for anything because I haven't played it at all. Haven't even jumped to the target practice. This is going to be a bit of a first impressions more than anything else. I can safely tell you it feels damn good to be back. Thank you all so much for watching my stuff, but we'll go ahead and grab our Octavia. This is what I was talking about, the passive. This isn't mentioned anywhere in her kit for some reason, but yeah, you basically pick between 4 of these at the start of a match. So the first one, Commander's cooldown. Everybody on your team gets 10% off of their cooldowns. That's just ridiculously big to be able to buff your team with. Absolutely massive. I think that's going to be a pretty popular one. Then you've got Commander's credit, which is also massive. I think this might be the most popular one alongside the ultimate and the cooldown one. I don't think the shield is going to be as popular, but I'll explain that in a second. So for every 5 champions eliminated on the enemy team, each member on your team gets 100 credits. So for every 5 kills on their side, you get 500 credits basically for your team. A pretty damn big buff. Then Commander's shield, which is also pretty damn strong, but I don't think as much as the other ones. Over the course of a long match, your team receives a 500 shield every time they respawn. Basically, you spawn in with like a Torvald shield on you, kind of. Then the final one, Commander's ultimate, which means that your entire team gets 15% increased ultimate charge rate for the match. So I guess we'll just go ahead and grab this one. Doesn't really matter, and then we'll go for the ult one. And I'll just grab the setup here, which I put together quickly. Do not take this, like I said, for a proper setup. This is my first time even picking up Paladins in 2 weeks, so it feels weird even being at my desk. I haven't even been in this room at all. But this is the hipfire, as you can see, pretty damn inaccurate. If you spam that, the amount of recoil on that is mental. This is, again, my first time picking up Octavia, so if you just spam it there, it's still pretty good. I think in close range fights, if you're fighting somebody at this sort of range, you can maybe go through them, but it's definitely not the way she's intended to be used. Really, you're going to just be playing out like this and just shooting people. That damage is mental. That damage, honestly, is kind of brutal, even at medium range, and that's definitely the way she's going to be used most of the time. Basically, just a different version of burst mode Victors. Those of you guys that play him all the time, I'm sure will love this, although you have to be a little bit more accurate, I guess. One thing I will say that I don't really know how to describe properly, but the kind of black circle around the reticle is a little bit annoying. That's obviously intentional, but it feels kind of strange. It's definitely there just to limit your vision, but you can still see health bars through it, which is nice, but it does definitely make things a little bit more awkward, at least for me. And even at this sort of range, you deal flipping mad damage with this. So yeah, that is a quick look at the weapon, just to show you, I guess, the jump. If we hop off the edge here and then put the right click, you can see we're kind of floating in the air, and then eventually you will drop. You can do the same thing here with the F. There is an internal timer, as far as I know, on the right click. I don't think you can deploy it again until you hit the ground, though. One thing I do want to see is if I can use my right click in the air and then use my F and use it again, because I'm not sure if that resets it. So there is the kind of stop. We'll use the F, and then can we use it again? No, we can't. So it is until you hit the ground, as far as I can tell. Just going to grab some chrono so I can actually use the abilities a little bit more often. But the F does throw you a pretty decent way. It actually sends you up quite a bit higher than I was expecting. I thought it was going to be more like a Tiberius leap, where it's kind of more forward motion, but this one just seems to throw you higher. If I throw the Q, you'll be able to see what it looks like. We'll just throw that over there. We can still see Victor because we are Octavia, Octavia, so it's kind of hard to show here, but I'm sure after you play with it in a match, you'll completely get how it works. Just going to go ahead and grab the one with the heal and the damage to see kind of what that is like. We'll just throw it here and tick both of them, hopefully. But there we go. That's the heal on to Nando and the damage on to Cassie. It definitely isn't going to be, you know, massive. I don't think the talent's going to be the one that people pick him the most often, but I reckon still in some team fights, it will make a pretty big difference with the heal and also the tick damage, especially if you're healing and ticking multiple people and you buff out the queue with the cards and stuff. So that really only leaves the ultimate. I'm just going to stand all the way back here. 250 units. We'll cast the E. It fires the first little shot in front of you. You can see the pre-beam and then the full one and then all the damage and stuff. You're basically just creating a line of pain. You don't have to stop to cast it, which is actually kind of nice. I thought you'd actually maybe have to, but you can actually just keep moving, continue doing what you were doing, and also just to kind of show you the range. Even the hip fire can hit people from all the way over here, although it is obviously massively inaccurate. And then when you scope in, the range is even more ridiculous, and it seems like the damage stops at 250 or 375 for a headshot. But I do wonder what the range is for the ultimate. I wonder if it's the range for the hip fire or if it's the range for the scope. We'll just go ahead and look at that Victor and cast it right there, and then we'll just follow it and see how far it goes. Here we go. It's still actually going. It's still going. It goes significantly further than I was expecting, so we're kind of in the middle of the spawn area there, and it stopped about there, which is pretty damn good. Really should mention that it does also destroy shields, as you saw on the description, and it does go through the entire map, kind of similar to a Furia beam. Really the only control you have over it is kind of predicting where the enemies are going to be, other than the first shot, which I guess you can kind of use like that, but I think many people are going to really be able to pull that off too consistently. To be honest, I don't really feel like there's too much else I need to explain. She is pretty self-explanatory. She is the commander after all, and I feel like in a team situation is where she's really going to do the best. She's got a pretty damn good amount of output. She's got her own movement with her F. Her Q is just a team ability. Her ultimate is a team ability. You buff your team out with your passive. I feel like in general, Octavia is a team player, although definitely those of you guys that are really, really accurate and love her weapon are going to have a really good time getting rid of people because the damage on it is pretty damn good. Don't think I'd say she's as unique as Yakrath, but she's still a really, really cool character, and I'm looking forward to having her in the realm. I'll of course have more videos on the PTS if I can do them. Like I said, I have just gotten back, so it might take me a little while to get back into the flow of things. But yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Thank you all so much for watching my stuff. I really do appreciate it. I'll of course see you guys all very, very soon, and as always, stay Frost. It feels goddamn good to be back.